You've been told that strength means staying silent, swallowing the grief, smiling in photos while something inside you quietly splinters. And maybe you've gotten very good at it. But here's the question that won't leave you alone. If that was real strength, why does it still feel so heavy when the lights go out? Tonight, I want to show you a different kind of power. Not the loud kind. Not the kind that wins arguments. The kind that lets your chest soften again. The kind that makes your mind feel like it has space to breathe. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll notice something subtle happen. Not a dramatic breakthrough, not a sudden new you, something quieter. Like the moment your shoulders drop without being told. Like the moment your thoughts stop marching and start drifting. Because Buddhist strength is not pretending you're okay. It's learning how to be with life without getting crushed by it. So take a slow breath, not forced, just honest. And let's begin. Strength. As most people learn, it is a performance, a mask, a role you play so nobody worries. But Buddhism looks at that and asks something almost inconvenient. What are you protecting your heart or your image? Because there's a kind of being strong that is really just fear wearing armor. It says, if I never show pain, I can't be hurt. But pain doesn't disappear when you hide it. It just moves underground. It leaks into your sleep. It tightens your jaw. It turns simple days into quiet battles. Buddhism offers an alternative, a strength that is soft on the outside and unbreakable underneath. Like water. Water doesn't argue with rocks. It doesn't try to dominate them. It moves around them. It keeps going. And you can't cut it with a sword. That's the first training. The soft shield. Most people misunderstand gentleness. They hear gentle and imagine weakness. They imagine letting people step on you. But Buddhist gentleness isn't surrender. It's refinement. It's strength so clean it doesn't need to shout. Here's the secret: reacting is easy. Anyone can snap. Anyone can throw words like knives. That takes no training. But staying rooted when someone tries to hook you, that takes power. So imagine this. Someone says something sharp. A comment meant to provoke. Maybe they don't even know they're doing it. Maybe they do. Your body reacts first. Heat in the chest. A tightening behind the eyes. A quick story forms. How dare they? They always do this. I need to defend myself. Buddhism doesn't say you're wrong for feeling that. It says notice it, not as a judge, as a witness. You feel the heat, and you don't pour gasoline on it. You pause. And in that pause, a door opens. Because the gap between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. That tiny gap is the beginning of the shield. In that gap, you can ask, is this worth my peace? Is this true? Is this even mine to carry? And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is not take the gift. There's an old teaching. Someone insults the Buddha right to his face. The Buddha doesn't argue. He doesn't strike back. He asks something simple. If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, who does it belong to? That's not just poetry. That's strategy. Some words are bait. Some opinions are storms. Some people hand you their pain because they don't know what else to do with it. You don't have to hold it for them. And when you stop holding it, something changes inside your nervous system. Your body learns, I can be safe without fighting. I can be steady without proving. This is not passive. It's disciplined. And discipline is a kind of love because it protects what matters. Now, here comes the prediction gap. Because the moment you start building a soft shield, life often tests it, not with earthquakes, with small irritations, a delayed message, a tone that feels off, a plan changing at the last second, traffic, noise. And your old self would react automatically, not because you're bad, because you're trained. So, Buddhism retrains you, one breath at a time. Each time irritation rises, you treat it like weather. A storm passes through. You don't have to become the storm. That's where the next teacher appears. Not outside you, inside you. A whisper, a subtle sabotage, a voice that sounds like logic. It says, don't change. It's too late. What's the point? You'll fail. Stay comfortable. In Buddhism, that voice has a name, Mara. People imagine Mara as a demon, a creature with claws and smoke. But Mara is far more ordinary than that. Mara is internal resistance. Mara is procrastination dressed as I'm being practical. Mara is craving, pretending it's self-care. Mara is fear pretending it's common sense. And Mara's power is simple. He wins when you don't see him. Because if his voice sounds like your own, you obey it without question. So the Buddha, sitting under the Bodhi tree, doesn't fight Mara. He doesn't negotiate. He does something far more dangerous to illusion. He names it. I see you, Mara. That's the whole move. Recognition. Because the second you recognize a pattern, it loses some control. So tonight, when resistance rises, when you feel the pull to scroll instead of rest, when you feel the urge to numb instead of feel, when you hear that thought, I can't handle this, try this. Just say softly inside, I see you, not with hate, with clarity, and then breathe, because Mara doesn't need to be destroyed. He needs to be exposed. Now let's go deeper. One of Mara's favorite disguises is thirst. In Buddhism, craving is called tanha, thirst. And it's sneaky because it promises relief. Just one more thing, one more purchase, one more compliment, one more message, one more win. But craving is like salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. So the practice becomes this. When desire rises, don't immediately obey. Don't immediately shame yourself either. Just feel it. Where is it in the body? In the chest? In the mouth? In the hands? Notice how craving narrows your world, how it makes one object look like salvation. Then wait, not forever, just long enough to see the truth. The urge rises, peaks, and passes. And each time you don't feed it automatically, you're building strength. Not by force, by patience. This is how you become less controllable. Because the world can't manipulate someone who doesn't need the bait. Now there's another trap that looks harmless. It doesn't feel like fear. It feels like thinking. Endless thinking. The mind says, before you heal, you need answers. Before you move, you must understand everything. Buddhism has a story for this. The poison arrow. A man is shot with an arrow. He's bleeding. He's in pain. But instead of pulling the arrow out, he demands details: who shot it, what kind of bow, what kind of wood, what caste, what direction. And the Buddha's point is brutal and kind. If you wait for all those answers, you die. This is for the overthinkers, the ones who live in analysis, the ones who believe clarity is a perfect explanation. Sometimes the path is not figure it out. It's remove the arrow. Sometimes healing is practical, not glamorous, not intellectual, just honest action. And that's a twist people don't expect, because the mind loves complexity. Complexity feels like control, but Buddhism measures wisdom differently. Not by how many ideas you can hold, but by how much peace your mind can return to. So, when you catch yourself spiraling, try a gentler question. Is this useful? Is this bringing me closer to freedom? Or is this just another arrow? And if it's another arrow, let it drop. You don't need every answer. You need presence. Now, when you start doing this, when you stop reacting, when you stop feeding cravings, when you stop chasing useless questions, something else shows up. A hunger for validation, the desire to be liked, the discomfort of being misunderstood. the ache when applause doesn't come. This is one of the deepest chains, because if your self-worth depends on praise, then you are always one comment away from collapse. Buddhism names this clearly. The 8 worldly winds, pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disrepute. If your peace rises and falls with these winds, you're not free. So what does freedom look like here? It doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become rooted. You start living from an internal compass, a private integrity. Buddhism sometimes calls it noble shame, not the shame of being judged, the clarity of not betraying your own values. It's the voice that says, stay true, even if nobody claps, even if someone misunderstands, because the person you live with the most is you. So when praise comes, you can smile and let it pass. When blame comes, you can breathe and let it pass. Not because you don't care, because you don't belong to the winds. And here's the unexpected part. When you stop chasing approval, people often trust you more, because they can feel when someone isn't performing. Presence is unmistakable. Now we arrive at another layer. Discipline. Not the harsh, punishing kind. The clean kind. Buddhism has a symbol for this too. The empty bowl. The monk's begging bowl isn't just for food. It's a daily reminder. Hold less. Need less. Expect less. Because an overflowing mind can't receive anything. A cluttered life leaves no space for truth. So the bowl stays empty, not because life is empty, but because the mind becomes ready. Ready for this moment. And the lesson is simple. Simplicity is not lack. It's design. Fewer distractions. Fewer compulsions. Fewer identities to maintain. More space. And in that space, you find something most people are starving for. Rest. Not just sleep. Rest inside the mind. Now, if this were only about calm, it would be comfortable. But Buddhism doesn't only soothe you, it wakes you. There's a word for the sharp awakening that happens when you see life clearly. Samvega. It's that moment where the mask slips. You realize how temporary everything is, how fragile, how fast time moves, and instead of collapsing into despair, something fierce lights up. Not panic, urgency, a sacred urgency. A quiet decision, I will not sleepwalk anymore. The Buddha felt this too. Luxury didn't save him from truth. He saw sickness, aging, death, and it cracked illusion open. Samvega is uncomfortable, but it is a gift because it burns away distractions that keep your life small. It makes you ask better questions. Not, how do I look? But how do I live? Not, what do they think of me? But what matters before I'm gone? And that's where the next symbol arrives. The lotus. The lotus grows from mud, thick, dark, messy mud. And yet, it rises clean, unstained. That is the path. Not avoiding pain, growing through it. Because pain doesn't ruin people. Denial does. So Buddhist strength doesn't demand that you be spotless. It asks you to be honest, to stop pretending, to admit quietly, this hurts, and then to stay present with it, not drowning, not running, just breathing. Let the mud nourish the roots. Let grief show you what mattered. Let anger show you where you were wounded. Let fear show you what you're clinging to. And here's a gentle twist. The lotus doesn't bloom faster because you hate the mud. It blooms because it accepts the process. So if you're healing slowly, you're not failing. You're rooting. Now we shift again. Because after gentleness, after Mara, after the winds of praise and blame, after the empty bowl, after the lotus, there is one practice that looks simple, but changes everything. Stillness. Not the stillness of giving up. The stillness of mastery. Zen has a metaphor. Zen archery. In Zen archery, hitting the target isn't the deepest aim. The real target is the mind. The bow is drawn slowly. The breath is steady. The archer becomes so present that the archer disappears. And then the arrow releases, not forced, effortless. That's how strength moves when it's refined, not rushed, not frantic, not fueled by proving, clean. So in daily life, you can ask, am I releasing this word from stillness or from chaos? Am I sending this message from clarity or from a need to win? Am I making this decision from presence or from fear? These questions make your life quieter, not empty, accurate. And this is where the practice becomes radical. Non-reactivity. This is the cold shower for the mind. Non-reactivity doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop becoming the feeling. You let emotion rise like a wave, and you let it break without letting it drag you under. You don't have to argue with the wave. You don't have to worship it either. You just stay. And you practice this in tiny moments. A plan gets canceled. You feel the spike. You breathe. A mistake happens. Your mind wants to attack. You breathe. Someone disappoints you. The old story tries to start. You breathe. Each time you're training your system Discomfort is not danger. I can stay. And slowly, your baseline changes. Calm stops being a mood. It becomes a home. Now, we touch a teaching that can feel strange at first. Freedom from self. Because so much suffering comes from protecting an identity. I must be respected. I must be seen as good. I must be right. I must be strong. Buddhism looks at the self and says, it's not as solid as you think. It's changing. It's a collection of memories, roles, labels. So when criticism hits what's hurt, often it's an image. And when the grip on that image loosens, the sting loosens too. This doesn't erase responsibility. It doesn't erase morality. It just removes the prison. You can still grow, still correct mistakes, still learn, but you stop turning every moment into a trial of your worth. You begin to feel something rare. Spaciousness. Now let's talk about fear. Because fear can survive even after insight. Fear often isn't about what's real. It's about what you think is real. There's a story. A traveler sees a snake on the path. His heart races. His body freezes. Then he looks closer. It's just a rope. The danger wasn't real, but the fear was. That's the mind. It creates snakes out of shadows. It turns silence into rejection. It turns a delay into abandonment. It turns uncertainty into catastrophe. So Buddhist training becomes perception training. When fear rises, you pause. You look again. Is this a rope or a snake? And just asking that soft question gives you back choice. Now, there's one more practice that closes a subtle loop. Comparison. Because even after meditation, even after discipline, even after clarity, comparison can creep back in like mist. Why not me? They're ahead. I'm behind. Buddhism offers an antidote that feels almost impossible at first. Mudita, sympathetic joy. It's the ability to feel genuine happiness for someone else's success. Not polite words, not fake smiles, real joy. Because comparison is built on scarcity. It assumes worth is limited. Love is limited. Opportunity is limited. But life is not a ladder. It's a field, and there's room to bloom in all directions. So when jealousy appears, you don't shame it. You study it. You ask, what belief is underneath this? Where did I learn that their light steals mine? And then you practice gently. May your joy continue. May your path open. May your success be clean, and something softens. Your chest unclenches, because the moment you can celebrate someone else, You stop being trapped by their existence. That's freedom. Now, as we come toward the end, let's gather what you've been building. You've built the soft shield. You've learned to recognize Mara. You've stepped out of the winds of praise and blame. You've emptied the bowl. You've let the lotus rise through the mud. You've trained stillness like a quiet archer. You've learned to look twice rope or snake. You've tasted the open-hearted strength of mudita. And now, here's the ending twist. The world may not notice. There is no trophy for the moment you didn't react. No applause for the night you forgave. No medal for the day you didn't abandon yourself. But something in you will know. You'll feel it in the pause before you speak. You'll feel it when chaos visits and your breath stays steady. You'll feel it when someone tries to hand you their storm and you simply don't take it. That is quiet strength. Not the strength of being hard, the strength of being awake. So tonight, let your shoulders soften again. Let your jaw unclench. If there's a thought looping in the background, treat it like a cloud. Let it pass. If there's an emotion stirring, let it ebb space. Not to drown you, to move. Because the path isn't about never feeling pain. It's about not turning pain into a prison. And here's the open ending. Tomorrow, life will offer you a moment, a small one, a tone, a delay, a comment, a craving, a twist in the plan, and you will have a choice. You can react and feed the old world, or you can pause and step into the new one. Just one breath, just one gap. And if you take it, you'll start to realize something. This strength you've been searching for was never something you had to invent. It was something you had to remember. So sleep well. Stay soft where it counts. And when you wake, listen closely. Because the next lesson will arrive quietly right inside the first moment that tries to steal your peace.